Hi everyone, time for your Week 10 overview in Humanities 103. So we're embarking on our fourth and final module. We're going to be talking about heroes and tricksters. And this week, we're talking about the hero. So there you see two classic heroes. We have Achilles there on the left, and of course, we have Superman on the right. Here is your reading for this week, and I know that looks like a long, long list. But let me reassure you, first of all, these are all fairly short readings. The first one there, The Hero's Journey in the Monomyth, is a video. These are important readings because what these do is give some context for what different scholars and theorists throughout history have said about the prevalence of the hero in mythology. Now, these are probably going to be very important for some of you as you're putting together your novel analysis project. Because remember, you need to find those critical theories that help you understand or analyze your book. And so any one of these could be extremely important. And I do want to point out, especially that one that says divine feminine and masculine archetypes, that one has information that really does apply to many, many of those novels that you are reading. And then, of course, down at the bottom, you see the Creation Myth Project link. So when it's time to turn that paper in, you can use that link to get you to the submission page. So before we dive into this unit, I just want to give you a snapshot of what we're talking about when we talk about a hero. So predominantly, we're talking about the epic hero. And next week, when we read a little bit of the Odyssey and learn about Achilles, he is the archetype for the epic hero. But this will just give you a little bit of context for what we're talking about here. The hero has a rather exhaustive list of sort of requirements or qualifications to meet that epic title, and I've just condensed them here somewhat. So obviously the hero, and I have to interject here, the hero is always a man because, you know, that's kind of the way it was. So we're talking about a male character here who is both a warrior and a leader, and of course he's also a polished speaker who can give these articulate, eloquent addresses to chieftains or elders and convince them to do what he wants them to do. The hero is most often a demigod, which would be a mortal who is part god or goddess. So they had one parent who was an immortal, and then one parent who was mortal. So, you know, they're kind of halfway in between there. It makes them mortal. They live and die, kind of like we do, but they often have longer lifespans. But they have all these supernatural powers, most often strength, but also great intellect. And so they're really sort of superhuman people. In stories, they often have some sort of distinctive weapon. Usually, you know, it's huge, it's powerful. It's something that's been passed down through their family, or oftentimes it's a gift from the gods, usually their immortal parent. Most epics that have a hero as the protagonist send that hero on a long journey, and oftentimes that even involves a descent into the underworld. You know, it's really sort of sort of a narrative technique to fill in a little bit of the backstory, because they could just go down into the underworld and have conversations with people who have already been killed in battle or what have you, and then they can bring that knowledge back to the real world. The hero always has some sort of an antagonist or an adversary, and oftentimes that adversary is described as, you know, a god despiser, or somebody who doesn't have enough respect for the gods and the supernatural. So somebody who relies more on their own mental and physical abilities. And so, of course, the hero is going to win, and then that's going to be validation for the power of the pantheon or the gods or the supernatural. At some point in an epic, the hero may encounter, here it says, a numinous phenomenon. It just means some sort of magic or divine or supernatural force. They may have to go to a place, that's haunted or enchanted. They may meet somebody who is enchanted or supernatural. And oftentimes they either come into conflict with that place or that person, or they may actually have some sort of an encounter where they come away with something that's even more powerful, a talisman or something to bring back. Speaking of the Creation Myth Project, I just wanted to refresh your memory a little bit. Remember, you need to go back to the assignment page, read the instructions again very, very carefully. I'm sure you read them before, but read them once more to remind yourself of every single aspect of the assignment that needs to be included. So just very briefly, it comes in two parts. Part 1 is the myth. Part 2 is the analysis. So in part 1, you are using at least 3 of those 9 types of creation myths, those Weigel types, and you are creating your own original creation myth. Now, there are some guidelines here that you need to follow as you put your myth together. Your story must explain the creation of the world as we know it and the things that appear in it. So you can't invent a mythical world. I want you to create a myth that explains your world. So look around. What is your world like? What do you see? What do you see physically in terms of rocks, trees, water, sky, infrastructure? You can also look at the people around you. How do people interact? What are the human relationships like around you? And I want you to come up with a story that adequately explains what you see in the world. So of course you must use at least 3 of those Weigel types. Your myth must reflect modern concerns and ideas, not just simply a retelling of an existing myth. Now, I have to tell you, because I've given this assignment before, that I see lots of stories that were kind of thrown together at the last minute, and they're explaining the existence of good and bad in the world, evil and good. Well, that certainly can be part of your myth, but that alone doesn't reach the level of detail that I want you to come up with. So really look at the more granular or more precise details of the world that you see and see if you can't explain that. Please use only the materials on our Canvas course site. This is not a research assignment. Please do not go out searching for other myths that you can kind of retool for this. So this is an opportunity to really stretch your imagination, have some fun with this, and come up with an awesome creation myth. Then the second part of it is the analysis. Now you are now analyzing your own myth. So you have some questions that you need to answer. You must explain which of the Weigel types you used, specify how you used each type. So what is the purpose of that type? What does it do to shape and influence the myth that you wrote? You might actually realize after the fact that your myth includes more than 3. So make sure that you include them all. Write about those. Explore which questions your creation story tries to answer, how it answers them, what kinds of things you considered in answering these questions, what influenced the choices you made in your creation story, in what ways did your creation story try to explain our 21st century view of the world. And lastly, please reflect on your creative process. How did you come up with the characters and details you chose to include in your myth? What was your process of pre-writing, writing, and revising? What obstacles or problems did you encounter, and how did you resolve them? So I'm super excited to read these stories. I know they're going to be amazing. Make sure you get those in by the end of the day on Sunday, the 27th. No late papers will be accepted for this assignment.